We are hosting an episode of the School of Business and Technology's Alumni Spotlight Series. Today, our guest is Damian Spencer. Mr. Spencer, would you please tell us about yourself, such as the year that you graduated and your current position?
Yes, I'm Damian Spencer, originally from the Caribbean, graduated from Huston-Tillotson University School of Business and Technology in 2010, and I'm about to start a role. I just graduated from my master's degree. I'm about to start a role as a business analyst type role with a biotech firm in California.
Oh, wow. So are you going to be moving from Berlin to California pretty soon then?
Pretty soon, yes.
So that's very cool. But yeah, you'll get to be part of some of those warmer temperatures again, that's for sure.
Yes.
So what made you choose Huston-Tillotson University for your undergrad?
Well, primarily the School of Business and Technology. I was fortunately introduced to Dr. Edmund, who was the dean of the business school at that point in time. And he was impressive. And what I saw about the SBT was impressive to me. So it was very attractive. And I was fortunate enough to apply and be accepted into the WEB Du Bois Scholarship Program. So yeah, that pretty much set it up. And I was very happy when I transitioned into the program.
That who would say no to something like that? So
exactly. Yeah.
What a wonderful opportunity.
Yeah, I was very grateful.
So could you tell me about one favorite moment that you have at HT, if there's just one that you can choose from?
There are many, but one that comes to mind is I'm from the Caribbean, and the Caribbean students and a lot of the international students would get together, and primarily we would have very strong debates about world issues on politics and etc. in the cafeteria, and this was a regular thing, especially on a Friday. So those moments, they would get pretty heated, but all amicable. Those moments stick with me. So if I had to choose one, I'd say one of those.
That sounds like so much fun. Very scholarly as well, to have those kinds of conversations, especially at a younger age, do you feel like that was just the kind of student body, that was the personality type of the student body that you were surrounded with?
I would say so. At least, the folks that I kind of naturally flocked to. So, yeah, a lot of people would join in the debates, and we weren't just strictly keeping to ourselves as international students. It was open to everyone. So I think the topics were interesting because, we were essentially comparing the similarities and differences in our respective regions and countries. So this is why I guess it probably pick on one another a bit. So yeah, it was pretty heated and quite nice.
Sounds like a really awesome experience.
I majored in business admin accounting, actually. This is why choosing to be in the accounting field, at the time, it was a very high demand degree. And, if you're going to get a bachelor's degree and you're investing 4 years, you of course want to do something that holds your interest for that length of time, but as well, that's, at least for me, something that's lucrative. And I knew of the demand for accountants. There still is that demand for accountants. So this is where I really wanted to find myself, even if I had chosen to do computer science at the point in time. But I think I fell into the accounting trap because my mom was an accountant, my sister studied finance, my dad studied finance. So it kind of fell naturally that I would fall into the business side versus the computer science side at that point in time.
That makes sense. It's what you're more familiar with and what you've kind of been surrounded with and stuff like that. And if it appeals to you, I mean, why not?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So what did you like most about being in the School of Business and Technology?
Well, one of the great things about SBT is at the point in time, and I'm sure it still happens today, there are so many opportunities for you to be exposed as a student to a professional environment, either through internships or through professional organizations that the SBT tries to affiliate itself with. And you know, when I graduated and I was fortunate to be employed at Dell Technologies after my stint as a student, and you know, I tried to do my part to give back, of course, because I was a student who benefited from those experiences. So we would partner. Dell partnered with the School of Business and Technology, specifically for the National Association of Black Accountants, and we would host a day at Dell where students would come, we would do resume reviews and these types of things. And this is very beneficial for a student, you know, who wants to be employable at the end of their term. So that's the great thing about the SBT.
And it's definitely something that is still very prominent within the SBT. Like you mentioned, it was, you know, prominent while you were there, and it's
Yeah,
a huge moving part within the school
exactly.
currently
Yes.
as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great.
So on that note, would you recommend the School of Business and Technology at HT, and why?
Yeah, for those reasons that I just mentioned as well. One thing that I liked about HT was that the school is not huge. Um, I've my master's degree program, the school wasn't huge either, so I kind of looked for that. And what's the benefit of that for me is that you have closer access to your professors. You're not just a number. You can have contact with them bit more easier. It's a bit of an advantage being in a smaller school. So that's one very attractive thing about that for me. This is one of the reasons that I chose the school, and especially well for SBT as well.
Coming from a large school myself, I completely understand that appeal, and it does make a huge difference.
Yes, I imagine.
So what would you say to corporations then about investing in the School of Business and Technology?
I would say you have a diligent staff and administration who works to give their students great opportunities. And I think HD has a track record and the SBT has a track record for its students gaining employment afterwards and performing well at their jobs. So I would say that it's a win-win. It's not a losing bet. And definitely don't just look at the larger schools in the area. I know one of them particularly that overshadows the rest, but you can get a good crop of students coming from Huston-Tillotson University's School of Business and Technology. So definitely endorse investing in the SBT and students.
Lovely. That was perfectly worded. Thank you.
Thank you.
So what are the top 3 skills that every business major or accountant needs to have?
Well, specifically for an accountant, but I guess this should apply to any business, any person in a business field. I would say, and I have to thank, I'm not sure if he's still with this school, with the university, but Dr. Kellogg, sorry. He was my advanced accounting and I believe intermediate accounting professor. And one of the greatest things that in class that I learned with him was Excel. We practiced, we had assignments in Excel, and I use Excel to this day. And I use it my entire time with Dell. And so I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to practice before getting into my professional environment, working with Excel. So definitely Excel is one thing. Secondly, I would say time management. Um, I'm sure, I know specifically as an accountant, you have to post journal entries, you have to do account reconciliations, all within a very specific deadline, which is usually monthly. So if you're not an accountant still, I'm sure there are deadlines that you have to meet. So I would say that having very good time management skills is a huge necessity. Pay attention to deadlines, learn how to manage multiple projects at the same time, and manage your time wisely. Lastly, I would say This is more of really just knowing your technical area very well, so that you can apply the knowledge that you have. I specified primarily in my roles at Dell in revenue recognition accounting and leasing accounting, and you have to be able to apply. I don't know what the rules are now, but FAS 13, SFAS 13, and ETIF 108, but I think it was at the point in time. But you should know the technical knowledge behind your subject area and be able to apply it where necessary and accurately.
That makes complete sense. And thank you for being so thorough in that response. I think that that was excellent advice. And it's definitely, those skills are something that you can translate into just about any sort of position, regardless of whether it's accounting or not. Excel is a wonderful tool to use for just about any project, and time management is the ruler of all, pretty much. So yeah, that was awesome. Thank you.
Sure.
So we have one final question. What were your key takeaways that you learned at your first job?
I would say two things come to mind right now. One is managing up. That means managing your manager, essentially, or managing your supervisor. That means you taking charge of your career progression, bringing ideas and thoughts to your manager so that you can not just be a passenger on your professional journey, but to take charge of your career path. Also, I would say bringing solutions to the table instead of just bringing problems. When you're in any role, you're going to run into some hurdles. And yes, you probably would want, in some cases, to let your supervisor or your manager know what hurdles you're facing. But don't just come and say, hey, this is a problem. What are we going to do? Think about it. At least bring some proposals to the table, some solutions to the table, instead of just bringing the problem. I mean, you have to be able to decipher which hurdles or problems you want should be acknowledged to your manager or your supervisor. But if you decipher that, okay, this is something that they should know, you say, okay, this is the case, but this is what we're trying to do. This is what I'm trying to do to circumvent this problem. Then at least with that, they don't have to spend their time thinking about how to solve your problem, essentially, because it's your problem. And that way, I'm sure they would appreciate and recognize, okay, this person is part of the team who's trying to think and propose solutions versus just bringing problems and bringing hurdles and expecting me as the manager to solve all problems. So yeah, those two things come to mind for now.
I really appreciate you bringing attention to those main points that you just shared, because I think that's something that a lot of folks don't really understand when they transition from college to their career. And being able to go to your professor with questions and challenges that you're facing, it's not the same sort of relationship with your supervisor.
Right. Yes.
So to make that differentiation and to comment on, please bring solutions along with the problems, if that's going to be a conversation that's had, that is so important for succeeding and progressing in your career, like you mentioned.
Yes, it's really crucial. It's a lesson I had to learn myself. So yes.
Same. Right. Yeah, same. Yeah. So yes, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and allowing our students to learn through other people's experiences, through your experiences, so that way they don't have to learn the hard way. Yeah. And still be able to.
That's another thing, HG is a safe environment for you to do this. So this is why I'm very happy to do my part to contribute in any way to students' upbringing and their transition into professional work. So I appreciate the opportunity, Megan. I really appreciate you having me, and I'm honored to be part of this series. So thank you very much. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Spencer. This was such a pleasurable conversation.
Thank you.